Welcome to the Shabby And Man podcast. We are partners, parents, podcasters, broadcasters,
and everything in between. Swagatam, namaste, sat sri akal, how are you, bonjour.
In
Arrivederci. You know, arrivederci. Do you say it when you enter the room or do you say it when you leave?
I have no idea. I don't say it at all.
You can say it both ways, you know, like
Perhaps.
ciao.
Now, in the light of Her Majesty the Queen's Platinum Jubilee this weekend, we thought we would do a Jubilee special because we've just been soaking in the atmosphere, sitting at the heart of the action in London. We've been watching things, sampling things, eating things. We've got our finger on the nation's pulse, we would like to think.
And it's still happening right now. It's still live. London is I hate the word buzzing.
Busy and buzzing.
But it's buzzing.
Yeah. So let's look at what we've done in the last 3 days. This was meant to be a long bank holiday weekend. For those who don't know, a bank holiday is normally on a Monday, and it's these about 4 or 5 in the whole year, right?
Ginani. Let's take your word for it.
वही 4-5 होते हैं साल में, and it normally falls on a Monday, and it is considered a long weekend because if you take, if Saturday, Sunday, Monday मिला के लोगों को 3 दिन की छुट्टी मिलती है. But this year, because the Queen is celebrating 70 years on the throne, they adjusted the dates around a little bit, and they gave 2 bank holidays, not on a Monday, Thursday, Friday. So it essentially became a long 4-day weekend with festivities, celebrations planned across all 4 days.
You mean anyone who could get away, tried to get away.
No, but I think...
But mayhem.
Yeah.
Planes not running,
because
staff
this also
shortages,
happened to be half-term.
Trains on strike.
Because it also happened to be half-term. And for some strange reason, there were like 50 flights a day being cancelled. You were right, there was absolute mayhem. So I think people were quite pleased that those who stayed back like us, we got to see a lot, and it was really, everybody's calling it a historic weekend, and surely it was historic, because I don't think, forget our lifetime, anybody else is going to see a monarch on the throne for 70 years the way monarchy is headed.
Why? Which way is it headed?
No, because it looks like, people are already predicting that by the time
do you think there will be a monarchy in not Prince Charles' generation, maybe Prince William's generation, but then Prince William's kids, Prince George and all. Do you think there'll be a monarchy?
I doubt it very much. They might follow the European example and become working royals, in the sense that there'll be less of the pomp and ceremony. They'll be footing their own bills, but they'll still be seen as figureheads who, will facilitate business and, be goodwill ambassadors for the country and all the rest of it. But they'll have to work jolly hard.
During this week, there have been so many stats and figures about monarchy.
Yeah.
And I remember reading somewhere that there are only 43 monarchies in the world. And this is probably the most famous one.
Yeah, and you also mentioned that the Queen is the longest serving British monarch, right? You said that apparently there was somebody in France who was on the throne for 72 years.
I'm not sure who now. It's probably one of the Louis.
Yeah. So Her Majesty still has a little bit of catching up to do to become the longest serving monarch anywhere in the world. But tell me, what stood out for you? Between the two of us, we've watched a lot of telly, watched a lot of the entertainment live, we've been to street parties, we've really lived it up in the last 3-4 days. What do you want to start with?
I want to start with the street. Actually, what I really want to start with? What you normally say about partners, parents, broadcasters. वो तो बोला नहीं तूने?
बोल दिया मैंने सबसे पहले. Welcome to the Shabby And Man podcast. We are partners, parents, broadcasters, podcasters, and clearly
my mind was somewhere else.
Exactly. Where was your mind? What were you thinking of?
I was thinking of too many things. Like, how long is this going to go on for?
Yes.
What are we going to talk about?
Yep.
Do you have any topics?
Yes, I do. Shall I start or will you start?
Well, I'll tell you the best thing I did was I went to my parents' street party. Yeah. Now, not every place is having a street party.
Yeah.
I kind of gate crashed my parents' one. And they've lived there for 30 years, and I know all the neighbors. And it was wonderful. Also, you can tell how affluent my dad's street is. There was champagne flying around. I thought, wow, yeah.
You were saying that everybody almost came with a case, right? And the bar was well stocked. You went with our boys, of course.
Yeah. Bouncy castles. I don't know how they got a bouncy castle and a table tennis, and there was a pool table. It was crazy. In the middle of the street. And then in the middle, the police came. And I thought, But they came to have cake. It's quite nice.
The one thing we didn't want to do, again, looking back, it was a historic event, maybe we should have, but then being Londoners, we know exactly what it feels like to be squashed with the rest of the world. All the tourists were in London, and Londoners, of course, so we didn't want to be a part of that crowd on the Mall, as they say, when the fly past and everything happened. We watched that from the comfort of our living room. But we did go to the West End, and we did go to Fortnum and Mason's, and anyone who's been to London knows Fortnum and Mason. It's the most historic shop, call it what you will.
We talked about it last week.
With multiple royal warrants, and they really were dressed to the nines, and I was surprised, the Platinum Jubilee souvenirs that Fortnum had. Beautiful biscuit tins and musical tins and chocolates and marmalade and very English things given a lick of Jubilee paint, if you will. They were flying off the shelves. I think virtually everyone queuing up at the tills had something.
Did they have those tote bags?
They had tote bags. My favorite tote bag is the Fortnum, which I have, which you actually bought me. But they've given it a little red smear. What is it? It's a crustacean. It's a crab, right?
Yeah, yes.
It was holding up
it's
some
a lobster,
plates. It's a lobster. So the lobster's been given a little lick of gold paint just to make it relevant to the Jubilee. Although it is her Platinum Jubilee, I don't know why gold, but anyway, just to make it a bit more festive. So the day we were in West End, it was absolutely crazy. The streets were packed. And I think 2 years after the harrowing 2 years that we'd had, thanks to COVID, it felt so good to be lost in a crowd in your own city, to be swept away by a tide of tourists who were making their way down Piccadilly and, the street lights and the Mall and Hyde Park, Green Park, that entire area. Beautiful.
I love the fact that not just tourists, the people who live here as well, with top hats and the Union Jack and carrying their own chairs, those foldable chairs, a picnic in the park.
I think London, I'm sure we speak for the entire country, but because we are Londoners, we can only say with certainty about London, it really put up a great show, and everyone.
Now, while you went to Fortnum and Mason's, I hopped on a tube and went to the O2, Indigo O2. I went to see a Desi concert. It was a Pakistani concert, and I'm a great fan of Sajid Ali. So I wanted to see him.
Sajjad Ali.
I used to call him Sajid.
Okay.
We're all pals. Sajid.
Yeah.
And it also has the Leo twins, who I've become a great fan since lockdown. And I think there was, I forgot her name now, Ima Beg,
yeah.
Who sung that song in 35 in Trouble. That one, I'm Jackie Chan, I'm a fan, Jackie Chan. What's the song? I'm not an item number.
Yeah. मैं item number नहीं करूँगी जो करना है करवा ले. हाँ.
So
it's supposed to show what kind of taste you have in music, but anyway.
I thought Sajjad Ali was amazing. Anyway,
what is the Jubilee related stuff that you've been watching on TV?
The thing is that I had to come back on the train with all these Jubilee, because the party at the palace had just finished at exactly the same time.
The Saturday night.
Yeah, so it was just crazy. Whistles, some people rather tipsy. It was good fun.
I've been catching up on a lot of these Jubilee shows that the BBC has been airing for the last entire week, actually, and that's what makes you realize why the BBC has the reputation it does and enjoys the popularity that it does around the world. So meticulously researched, archival footage that nobody else in the world would have access to but the BBC. So there was one about this many people were talking about. It's called The Unseen Queen. And this was the first time that Her Majesty actually gave the BBC access to her private home videos. And I'm absolutely...
They do that every couple of years,
No, but there's...
A little clip,
snippets of I know that, but there are
videos.
photographs and there are videos that people have seen over the years. Everybody has seen on big occasions. But that's what they said, that this had archival footage that no one had previously seen other than the family members, other than the Queen. Absolutely fascinating, as right from the time when she's a little girl and Margaret is, crawling behind her and they're going up and down on a bike and their dad is running around, and absolutely. And the voiceover is by the Queen as well, by the way. So she's explaining,
Did you like yesterday's
concert?
No, yeah. What Prince Charles said about his mummy and Papa.
What was it? What did he say?
How important they are, how he misses his Papa, and also about... I can't remember the other things he said, but I was talking about Paddington.
Yeah. But I thought you wanted to talk about the Paddington sketch.
That was very good. It's nearly as good as a James Bond sketch 10 years ago.
Yeah. And it's brilliant. It's gone around the world. I'm sure people know what we're talking about. Her Majesty making an appearance.
I think that clip has gone viral anyway.
Yeah.
And it finishes with her tapping her teacup to the tune of We Will Rock You, which starts with all the guards God's been playing it.
Yeah, so that would have been quite special. I think it took everyone by surprise. No one won exactly in the same way that no one was expecting the Bond sketch at the Olympics. This was really good. There was another show that a news reader that we admire, both of us admire, Clive Myrie. A couple of months ago, there he was reporting from.
I thought you just talked about him doing the Queen's thing.
No, that was the Unseen Queen. Clive Myrie did the Crown Jewels.
Oh, I see.
And even he was given unprecedented access to the Crown Jewels, and they said we've used modern technology to film the jewels from every angle, and it's about the crown and the scepter and the two biggest diamonds in the world, and how, the history behind.
Are you talking about the Kohinoor?
No, it's not the Kohinoor, by the way. It's not the biggest diamond in the world. Perhaps one of the most talked about, one of the most disputed diamonds.
It's not the biggest diamond in the world?
No. I forget now what was the name.
Something
one and something two. I forget what the two biggest are. The Kohinoor is also on her crown, but there's another one which is right in the center, and then the big heart-shaped one which is in the scepter. Fascinating, absolutely fascinating. I think even if you're not a royalist, even if you have a passing interest in history, just to see what these gems represent, how they were acquired, what the story is, what the backstory is, going back hundreds of years, absolutely fascinating. What else have we been doing? There's been my sad joke, Bollywood pun on the occasion was, of course, which Bollywood film sums up the mood of the nation? I said it was bunting or bubbly, because there was bunting everywhere you looked.
There was a lot of bunting.
And there was a lot of bubbly being consumed as well.
Oh yeah, especially on my parents' street party. And another thing that was really interesting there was there was all different ages. So my dad and my mom and dad have lived there for 30 years. So all these people who know me, and then obviously new people come along and you meet them for the first time.
Yeah.
New young families, some people renting. Some people brought their first house. It's nice to meet your neighbors. Which is very sad, because where we live, we don't actually know anyone, I think, do we?
Yeah, but that is this generation, right? What are your memories of the previous Jubilees that Her Majesty's had? Do you remember anything from her Golden? We were here, 2012, right? Somehow,
how old I am that I remember, the coronation.
The coronation to nahi, but wo bhi tumne TV pe to dekha hi hoga, enough to remember bits of it. It was restored in color a few years ago. That might have been on her.
Oh, you mean they reshowed it in the 80s?
Yeah. So, what an amazing 4 days it's been in the UK.
And touch wood, the weather held out.
Yeah.
It was predicted to pour today.
Yeah.
But it didn't.
And the first 3 days were really lovely, I mean, London in the summer on a sunny day, any day feels like the best place on earth. But when you've got London dressed up to party for the Queen's 70th.
Right now, a couple of hours ago, all these buses went past, with Cliff Richard on one and loads of famous people from different eras and generations.
What did you think
why I went to Cliff Richard? Because he was a bit peeved off.
Because he wasn't invited to sing.
He didn't sing yesterday. And there was a lot of controversy that why didn't he and Paul McCartney and Mick Jagger, very British icons, not turn up on stage. And instead you had the Diana Rosses and all.
But then you don't know the backstory. Some of them may have been indisposed. Some of them may not have wanted to sing, because you know what they say about...
Rod Stewart has said, Rod Stewart yesterday had to sing, he sang Sweet Caroline. And the general consensus is that he ruined it. But he's saying the BBC forced me to sing that song as an English anthem because, World Cup, England took it to heart.
Yeah.
The Neil Diamond song.
I'm sure these are things that superstars have to take into consideration. If you have anthems which generations have grown up on, do you really want to ruin it at the end of your career singing it live when you're not really in a fit state to sing it live? I'm sure there are many who wouldn't do that,
What do you mean fit state? He's a fantastic singer.
No, but he's old now, so he finds it hard to belt it out with the same kind of energy and gusto which any human being would. If you've had a hit when you were 40 or 50, you're not expected to,
It's not his hit. That was what he's complaining about. It wasn't his song.
So he's saying that if he was singing one of his songs, he would have done
He did sing his songs, but he had to sing
this as well.
A Neil Diamond song suddenly.
It is. So I'm sure there are many celebrities who make that call and they choose not to sing live after a certain point. Speaking of controversial things, what did you think about Harry and Meghan's appearance at St. Paul's and the fact that the Prime Minister and his wife were booed?
They're very controversial. some papers are saying, oh, they were cheered. Some papers say, I heard them being booed. Yeah, what I could see on TV. But everyone's spinning it around now. Some saying that Harry and Meghan got booed.
Yeah. But I think by and large, the country was able to rise above politics. And even we wouldn't...
The Independent newspaper actually said the most popular royal is Meghan. Yeah? When they did a survey.
And I think the occasion was such that even though we are not diehard royalists ourselves, you just get swept by the emotion, because when you actually see the pomp and ceremony, you become a part of it. And, I don't think I've ever bought an okay or a hello unless... I was planning a trip to India, which I am this year, and my friends' daughters, young teenage daughters, say that could you please get us okay and hello so we can see what they were wearing and we can have some sort of a souvenir.
Not the Bangkok boys.
The Bangkok boys.
Yes, more commonly known as BTS.
Oh, BTS. Yeah, the BTS is all over the place. But, the English royalty, the British monarchy still has that sway on people. You like to see beautiful people in beautiful gowns wearing all their crown jewels, which is something, okay and hello, really presented so beautifully to you that, you would like to have one as a souvenir. So, it's been a fun weekend. And we're not even talking about Bollywood this weekend, otherwise it would have been a Bollywood put on a party.
You mean the IFAs?
The IFAs at Yas Island, Abu Dhabi. That was another party that everybody's been talking about. But we'll talk about that another time, maybe.
So this was just a quick
Jubilee
celebration.
Jubilee celebration, giving you a sense of what we've been up to, what we enjoyed, what we've seen and done in the last 4 days. Wherever you are in the world, thank you so much for tuning in, and tell us if you... saw any of it.
Huge global audience.
Yeah, if you saw any of it, or if you participated in anything in your country to mark Her Majesty's 70th reign.
What was very nice was that after the first day, we know that the Queen she had mobility issues, so she didn't turn up for the other two things. But today, a couple of hours ago, she did pop up again in her balcony. At the end of the parade.
Yeah.
The pageant. The pageant.
The pageant. People must have really loved that.
How Hindustani am I? Did I say pageant?
You did. Yeah.
Oh, thanks a ton, pageant. I don't know what happens to me sometimes,
But when they were interviewing members of the audience, everybody was saying the same thing, that of course nothing, Her Majesty's health comes first. Nothing is more important than that. But of course we are a little bit disappointed that we were hoping to see her on day 2 and day 3 as well. And we weren't able to.
And I think this is also a transition for Prince Charles. Everyone's watching how he's taking the reins now.
And even Kate is sharing many of Her Majesty's duty, right? They're saying that even Kate steps in for her many, many times on several occasions when she has asked Kate to, be at certain events. So,
granddaughter-in-law,
yeah. And I think even the TV shows that I'm talking about, anything that gives you a glimpse of Her Majesty firsthand, when you hear her speak, that is what, makes her human, makes her an icon who is also someone who laughs and cries and is sensitive to things. For instance, in one of the shows, I forget which one, I think it was the one about crown jewels, they've got a clip from 2019 when she's sitting with a historian and he's brought her crown, which Her Majesty wears every year only for one day. The state opening of Parliament, right?
Yes.
So he's brought her the crown.
Which I don't think she did this year.
And she didn't do this year. Prince Charles officiated. So they're looking at the crown. The two of them are sitting there and they're looking at the crown and she's saying, it's rather heavy, isn't it? And let me have a look. And she's having a look at it and then she's saying that, then she's looking at it as though she really hasn't. And then he said, ma'am, I don't think you've seen it in a long time. She says, no, I haven't. And then she said that, oh my God, she's looking at the craftsmanship and she's saying, it's impossible to tell, which is front and which is back because it's just so perfectly done. It's so symmetrical. So even when she's commenting on things which are all hers anyway, but of course they're kept in the Tower of London. It's fascinating to see what her take on her crown jewels, what her take is on life as she's known it. But that's it. I think we should say bye-bye and... the next time we are back in 2 weeks' time, we will be talking about all the usual things as well, which is...
we haven't talked for a long time about Khana Pina.
You want to talk about Khana Pina? Khana Pina to काफी हमने इस बार किया है.
No, day before yesterday I had मूली के पराठे. After years, you don't really get मूली के पराठे and गोभी के पराठे. If you go anywhere, it's just आलू के पराठे.
Yeah, unless you go to specific Asian pockets where I'm sure they make methi, मूली, gajar, aloo. But you're right, aloo is the most common. Let's not get sidetracked. Let's keep this all about the Eton mess. And what are the other English puddings I'm trying to think of?
What happened to your lemon poisson?
Lemon poisson and all the rest of it. We shall come back with food and drink and TV shows and Bollywood films in the next episode. Until then, thank you so much for tuning into the Shabby and Man podcast.
Ciao. Bye-bye.